everybody, and welcome to our final week of wider curriculum learning for term 3. I can't believe how fast this term has gone, and hopefully next term we might be able to be back together in school. So today we are going to be looking at session number 2 of our art unit that we started this term. Can you remember the name of the famous artist that we started looking at? Can you remember what type of art he produced? Hopefully you've remembered that he was called Michael Cardew and he was a famous potter. And we're going to carry on looking at examples of his work today. So on the screen I have got a picture of a jug that was made by Michael Cardew. And I'd like you to look at the picture. What patterns and decorations can you see? And how do you think he added them? So pause the video and see if you can think about these two questions. Okay, so hopefully you've had a little think about the different patterns and decorations you can see. I can see that he's created a pattern which looks like it's going all the way around the outside of the jug, and he's done that by creating 2 lines at the top and then 2 lines at the bottom. I really like how the jug has got 2 different colours as well. So we can see this top half of the jug is slightly glossier, it's quite shiny, and it's a darker colour compared to the bottom of the jug. And I can also see these lovely patterns that he's created here as well. How do you think he added these patterns though? What do you think he did to add them? Perhaps you thought that maybe he used a gloss. Once he'd produced the clay pot and it had dried, he used a different coloured gloss, which I can see here at the top. Maybe he's used some paint to add the patterns, or perhaps he maybe used some tools as well to add the patterns and then he painted over them. And that's what we're going to be thinking about today. So I'd like you now to look at these 2 jugs. How are the patterns different? And again, how do you think these patterns have been made? So pause the video again and have a look at these 2 jugs. Okay, I wonder what you notice about what is different about these 2 jugs. Let's have a look at them together. So you might have probably noticed that the colours of the 2 jugs are different. So I'm going to write that down here. The colour. I can also see that the shape of these 2 jugs are different. This one's slightly wider. The opening of the jug is much wider compared to this one. But in terms of the patterns, I can see that this one here has some patterns which are going up and down vertically across the jug, whereas the pattern on this one is a horizontal going across the jug, and they've used some dots as well as some horizontal lines, as well as that swishy line that we can see here. So the colour, the shape and the patterns are all different on these jugs. Again, how do you think they would have created these different patterns? Do we think they would have used the same tools to create these different patterns? Or perhaps they used different tools? Maybe they used a paintbrush or the end of a paintbrush. Maybe they used their finger to do the dots here. So we're going to be finding out today about the different tools that you can use to add pattern and texture to your clay jugs. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch a video together. You're not going to be able to hear the sound, but that doesn't matter as there's no talking in the video. You just need to watch to see what patterns and textures they can create using the clay. Okay, so watching the video carefully to see what they can do. So it says add texture to clay. So first of all, we can see that they're using this tool here to create some different patterns and textures. We can see that the tip of the tool is quite sharp. We've got a lollipop stick, so using to press down into the clay. You might use your clay tool to do some writing. We can see that they're changing how they use the point of these different tools as well. So sometimes they're pressing down with the point directly in, other times they're holding the tool on its side to create a different effect. So we can see that all of these different tools are creating different patterns and textures. I wonder if you can spot which one you like the most so far. And then they're using the roller as well, like we've used those rollers to create our patterns on our calendars that we made in school. And we can see that they're putting these patterns together as well. So they might use one or two tools to create a pattern. Here they're using a cupcake case, the outside of the cupcake case, to create the pattern. So these are all different textures. So when you touch and feel the clay, it's going to feel different. And then again, we can see on this clay bowl that she's holding, she's again used the cupcake case to create different patterns both on the outside and the inside of her clay pot. So what we would like you to do today is, some of you might have clay at home. If you don't, that's not a problem. You could either have a go at making your own Play-Doh or using Play-Doh that you've got at home, or you might want to make a go at making your own salt dough as well. So we've attached some different recipes for how you can make these things at home. And what we'd like you to do, either with your clay or your Play-Doh or your salt dough, is you're going to test out different patterns and textures. So the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to start with your lump of clay or Play-Doh or salt dough, and you're going to press it down to make a flat tile, like you can see in the picture here. Because in the video, she was working with a flat piece of clay to begin with, because today we're not making the pot, we're just experimenting with the different patterns and textures that we can create. Step number 2 is you're going to use the clay tools or your fingers to make the different patterns. So we will all be able to use our fingers to create different patterns. Perhaps you can use your thumb or your little finger to make different sized patterns. Perhaps you could press down with your fingernail and see what different patterns and textures you can create. And then we might have different things around the home that you can use to create your different patterns and textures. So we can see in the picture here, they've got a fork. You might want to use a lollipop stick. You might want to use any skewers. If you've got some wooden skewers, you could use the sharp end of those. So whatever you can find at home, perhaps some Lego pieces, if you don't mind washing them off after. Can you put the Lego pieces on the clay to create those different patterns and textures? Maybe some K'NEX pieces as well to create those different patterns. So I'm sure you've got lots of different things at home that you can use on your clay. And then once you've had a go at experimenting with it, which of your patterns do you like the most? And which do you think you might like to change? So when we do come to making our clay pots, which of those patterns do you think you would quite like to use and why? And which do you think you wouldn't like to use and why? And that's the whole purpose of today's lesson, because we're thinking about experimenting. So it's giving us a chance to decide and experiment with different patterns. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's completely up to you to decide which ones you like and which ones you don't. and I look forward to seeing some different pictures of you experimenting with your clay or your Play-Doh or your salt dough. So have fun everybody, and I can't wait to see your results. Bye!